Hey, hello folks. So as you can see the screen, today we are going to explore WebDriver IO and see how we can leverage WebDriver IO to include both web automation and mobile automation in a single frameworks. Also, we will be adding API automation on top of it. So we are going to build this framework from scratch. It takes around 20 minutes. So let's jump into WebDriver IO. So WebDriver IO has a beautiful document where you can go through all the stuff they are providing. It will be really helpful for you before you are going to jump into WebDriver IO. So let's start up with building a basic skeleton. So WebDriver IO provides you a command where by using this command you can in a second you can have a basic skeleton in your local. So I'm just going to use this npm init WebDriver IO command. Before that, please check if you are using a updated node version. I guess I'm using 16 node version, so this works for me. Let me just create a basic skeleton. Then I'll just name it as demo WebDriver IO, demo wd IO. So here they will ask you some basic questions like where you want to set up this framework and what type of runners or what type of configurations you want to set up in your basic skeleton. So let's just go through it one by one. Okay. Also, this WebDriver IO works only on a Node.JS based project. So Node.js is pretty much cool when we are comparing with other like tech stacks. So the first question is where should your test be launched? So I'm going to use my local. So we are going to set up a basic framework in my local. So just you select the option local, and automation locator also I'm going to have it in my local. So it provides you three like test frameworks: Mocha, Jasmine, and Cucumber. If you have worked on any of these before, and if you prefer like example Cucumber, if you prefer, you can select Cucumber. But in this video, I'm going to select the Mocha framework. Okay. So compiler, I don't need compiler as of now. Yeah, so we need some test files so that we have idea how WebDriver IO handles the test file. So just select yes here, so that you will have a context on how they are placing the test files in the framework. And just click on enter for these next two questions where they are asking for file location and page object location. This is fine for us, and also I prefer using page objects in my framework, so I'm giving for yes for page objects question. And page objects location, yeah, this is fine. Okay, so now coming to reporter, I usually prefer Allu reporter. So spec reporter be selected because spec reporter helps you to find any issues from the console itself. So let spec reporter be selected, and I'm just going to select the Allu report. You can use space to select, and I'm clicking on enter. So I'm just using this wait for itself. Okay, here they're asking, so as I mentioned, WebDriver IO provides a lot of services. If you just go through this documents, you will get to know all the services they are providing, and even they have just provided the detailed steps of installing and configuring it in your framework. So just I recommend you to go through these services before starting to build a framework. Okay, so so as I mentioned, in this video we are going to build a framework that supports mobile and web. Okay, API I will add it later because WebDriver IO doesn't provide any configurations to have API test on top of it. So we are going to use super test that is provided by Node.js. So we will come to it later. So as of now, I'm just clicking Chrome driver and APM. So these two is fine. So localhost is fine. Yeah, so if you have already worked on Node.js project, if to install the packages and create a node modules, we need to run this npm install command. This is similar to what you do in Maven, like Maven install, or if you are using Ruby, there is a bundle install. It's similar to it. So we are just going to do yes for it so that this automatically installs the node modules and create a complete framework for us. So I just selected yes. So it's just installing the packages. whichever packages we have mentioned as of now, it will just install. For example, I have selected Mockup test framework and spec reporter, Allure reporter, and I have selected 2 services, Chrome driver service and APM services. Okay, fine. Now I'll just open okay, now I'll just open in VS Code. So I usually prefer Visual Studio Code. You can use any IDE as per your wish. So you can see node modules got created. This is as part of npm install, and there is a package.json where we will have all the dependencies that we have selected as part of the questions. So you will see Chrome driver IO, Chrome APM services, all the services which you have selected will be there, and even on top of this you can add any other services from the documents. So they have created 2 main structures for us. One is page objects and another one is spec. So I will just go one by one. We will start with the configurations first, because if you want to start a framework from scratch, you just need you just need a basic understanding of how it's configured, so that in future you can play around it, or you can add awesome stuff to this framework. So I will start with the WebDriver config file. So this is a part of like a starting point of test execution for your framework. You have all your configurations related to your framework. So this is a configuration where we will have Chrome driver and APM. So using this file you can specify your test files where you need to execute your scripts. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to have web and mobile. So what I will do is I will create 2 separate configurations for web and mobile. So I will just create a folder here called as configs, and I will push this WebDriver config here. Now you will see the configs. I will just duplicate this and add one more file. Okay, so now I will rename this file. I am going to use this as a one config for web and one config for Android iOS. Okay, I'll just use this config for Android. One for iOS. Okay, so now as you see we have 3 config files. So I will explain you why we are having 3 config files here. The basic thing is the environments which we are going to run in the run the test files. So if you see for web, a simple browser like a Chrome or any driver is Firefox driver, any driver is fine to run your web scripts. But unlike the web one, we have for Android and iOS we need Xcode, Android SDKs, Java, all these things we need as a separate environment. So I usually prefer it to keep as 3 separate configurations, so that it will be easy for you to edit and easy for your if you focus on onboarding people to a framework in future, it will be easy for them as well to understand the framework by just looking at the folder structure. So now we are going to edit the config files as per the names. Like it supports only web, so I will remove this APM from here. So now this web supports only Chrome driver, which will execute the test in the browser. You see the capabilities here. Max instance is 5, so I'll just remove this max instance here. We will have max instances 1 as of now. Max instance is nothing but running your test parallelly. Like if you give us 5, it will create 5 instances and it starts executing your scripts parallelly. So as of now I'll just create 1. So deep down in this WebDriver series, we will explore all these capabilities that your WebDriver provides you. So we will just go one by one. As of now, this capabilities, browser name, Chrome, this is fine. So I will leave this as of now. Okay, let's jump into Android. Okay, for running WebDriver IO, inbuilt uses the APM. If you have worked in mobile projects, you would have used APM for your mobile automation. So the APM WebDriver IO just uses APM to interact with your app in emulator or simulator and executes the scripts. So services APM is fine. Okay, so for Android, you need some capabilities. I will remove this. I have created one just for you in the GitHub. I will also share you this link. Okay. So if you see here capabilities, I'll just explain you while copying this. So it's nothing but the platform name and device name the emulator which you are going to use in your local. You need to name the emulator and you need to provide the name here. Like whatever emulator you name, you just need to give it in here. Okay, and app and whatever application under test you are going to automate, you need to provide the app path here. Okay, UI automated 2 is provided by Google. So APM uses UI automated 2 to interact with the Android app. Okay, app package and app activity. So if there is any app you are using, there will be some specific package and activity. You need to mention it in the capabilities here. Similarly, we are going to edit the iOS as well. So I will remove this capabilities. In the same gist, you will see the iOS config file. So just copy the capabilities here. So max instances as of now I'm going to give it as 1. The similar key value pass for iOS as well. Platform name, version. Instead of giving your simulator name, you just need to give your simulator version which you are going to use and the device name which you are going to use from local. Automation name, so APM uses Xcode UI test which is provided by Apple. APM uses this to interact with your iOS apps. Okay, this is pretty much done for the configs. Let me just go through this document which I prepared for this session. So I would suggest you to go through this WebDriver.io documents in your available time. We are going to create a basic skeleton. Yeah, that is done. We can use npm init WebDriver.io command. Okay, we are right now we are rearranging the folder structure. So whenever you are going to build a framework from scratch to try few things out, like for execution, reporting, you need a application under test. You need to identify a AUT as per your requirements. Like in my case, I'm going to automate a web and mobile app API as well. But as of now, I'm going to automate web and mobile app which has similar functionalities. So when I was going through the web for searching, I found this Swag Labs. It's called as Swag Labs, provided by Sauce team. Like you heard the Sauce Labs. It's a device form providing website. So they have created this Sauce demo app. It's just a e-commerce kind of thing. You need to, okay, they have provided you a dummy credentials in the starting of the website itself. So you can just place any order by using this website. So I need a similar kind of functionality same in the Android and iOS app. So they are also giving apps as well. So I will just show you how to get this. So if you just add Swag Labs release app, you will see a GitHub link where you will have sample app they have just uploaded. So these are the artifacts. I would recommend you to download Android one and the iOS one. Okay, so the app, okay, now in our framework itself, we are going to create one more folder where we are going to store the apps that we got from the Swag Labs. So I have created one more folder called as app. Now I am going to place the app in here. Okay, let me just copy and paste it in here. Okay, now you see, so whatever apps we need is placed in the app folder. Now you just need to update the path here. So I already updated here .app and the app name. Okay, so everything is set as of now. We have created a configurations for web, Android and iOS. We have one Android app and one iOS app, and also we have one website for this Swag Labs. The other thing is page objects. We will look into it later when we start writing scripts. Okay, and specs, like specs is a folder where you will have all the test scripts written here. You will just create a method for just login in the page objects, and you will call the method here. Describe and it is part of Mocha framework. Since I prefer Mocha, I'm going to use Mocha in this session. Okay, and one more thing is, if you see in the web here, it's just pointing to the specs folder. So I'm just going to have this rename this example .e2e, one for web and one for mobile. I'm going to just separate like that, web.e2e, and this one mobile.e2e. Okay, now we are going to specify the path here, like example web.e2e.js. okay, similarly we are going to have it in the Android and iOS configs as well. Okay, but the main thing is, if we do like this, we need to write separate scripts for the app which has same functionalities. If you see, the Swag Labs is a basic e-commerce site where we can order bags. That's it. So it's pretty much same when you compare the web app and mobile app. So how we can handle this in this framework, like how I can reuse the same scripts that I'm going to write for my web app in my mobile. So that's a problem statement which we are going to handle it in the next video. So I have just edited config files to support web and mobile. I will give this location in the description. And so how to handle scripts in an effective way. So how to reuse the code you are writing for web and in the same mobile script. So what we are going to do is, we will have only one spec, where one E2E, where it will just in the runtime it will check whether it's a web, Android or iOS, and it will just use the same scripts that you are going to write, and it will execute it in the different platforms like web, Android, iOS. So that's what we are going to configure in the next video. And in this series I will just pick these topics where I will have a separate video for these topics. So the next video will be on utility and helper methods. So by using this utility and helper methods, we will see how we are going to handle these kind of executions, platform specific executions. And we will also have a locator strategy for these tests. I will just guide you on the locator strategy, best one for you to implement in the framework. We are going to see how we can effectively use this framework to script the logics and the reporting part. We will mainly go through the Allure reporting part, because I feel that's kind of comfortable, and it provides a minimal information that your client or that you need to debug the app if anything fails, or it provides you a valid error messages and error line code where your script got failed. And if you need to share the reports to your client, it provides you an amazing HTML report. We are also going through test tagging mechanisms in the later part of video, and we will set up on maybe we will use GitHub Actions or Azure, and we will set up this in the CI/CD pipeline. And also, as I mentioned, we will just go through the plugins and services. I will try to cover plugins, few or 3 or 4 plugins and services to show you how you can easily integrate with your WebDriver framework. Like you in just 5 or 6 like 5 to 10 minutes, you can just easily integrate any of these services. That's pretty much which we are going to cover in this sessions. So I will see you in the next video. Bye.